For the next few minutes, we're going to take a look at the PowerCivil Site Digital Train Modeling extraction tool for extracting CAD data into a PowerCivil DAT file. To create a TIN file in PowerCivil is a two-step process. First, you create a DAT file that organizes the spot data, the break line data, contour data, organizes all that into a data file, and then we process that file and create a triangles file, or TIN. So this step is to extract graphics into a DAT file. In the manual, we'll be focused on page 1 through 5, where we'll extract spot shots, break lines into a DAT file. So I'm going to go ahead and work with the data set for this, which is located in our Data Geo Site DTM ASCII data folder. In there we have a CAD file, and later on we'll be using some supplemental survey data to augment that aerial survey file. So our CAD file is what we're going to start with. So I'm going to go ahead and launch PowerCivil and open up that aerial survey file. Again, located in my Data Geo Site DTM ASCII data folder. So I highlight it, click OK, and that will bring it up into my view. Now, as I mentioned, there's a two-step process to creating a triangles file or a TIN surface. The first step is to create a DAT file where we can take some sort of CAD data, in this case, and organize it and read it into a DAT file for the program. The DTM tools can be found under the Civil pull-down menu, Digital Train Model. It will bring up this tool palette, DTM. You can dock it and leave it off to the side and access all the DTM tools from there. The first tool, DTM menu, allows you to work with a pull-down menu versus the icons. What we're going to be doing now is extracting and building a DAT file. So the extract menu is for the DAT file. Later we'll come back and build triangles. So extract, in this case, graphics. I have graphical data that I'm going to extract into that DAT file. I need to give the file a name. In this case, I'm going to call it existing underbar ground.dat. A file type for that, ASCII or binary. In my case, ASCII, so that we can look at it. Next, I need to decide what file open mode I want. In this case, I want to create the file. So I'm starting with the spot shots. I'm going to extract those. That will create the DAT file, and then I'll come back later and I'll append with the break line data. So the feature that I'm going to extract first is spots. You can see we support spots, extract break lines, boundaries, contours, graphic triangles, all kinds of DTM features that you can bring into the DAT file. The mode, in this case, is going to be set to extraction. We also support what we call interpolation mode, which allows me to, for example, if I have break line information but they're not at the correct Z, I can read the line itself and get XY off the line, but maybe use a nearby spot shot that has the correct elevation and assign that to the endpoints of the line. So I can interpret the Z value from some other source than the actual 2D graphic that I might be starting with. But in my case, I have good 3D data. And I can show you real quick, if I info a particular piece of text and look at the details of that text, I can see, the text value, the content of the text, and then I can look at the origin, its position in the design CAD file, and there's its X, Y, and Z. So it's at the correct Z. So what I want to do is have the software search for a particular element that exists on a certain level in a certain color. So I've toggled on those three options. You have to toggle on as many options as you need to be able to find what you're trying to extract. So if I had other things on the same level as my text, but they were a different color, then I want to at least check level names and colors. If I had other types of elements other than text, that's why I want to have types on as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click the match button and pick a piece of text. It highlights all text that match the piece that I chose. I'm going to data point again with my left mouse button, and at that point it will fill out the dialog. Now I can also select by putting like a check mark next to a particular piece of information. Now in this case I want to make sure that I'm extracting spots. So I hit match again, and notice this time the types fill out. So what you see is, depending on what feature you have, what types of elements are supported by that feature. So for example, break lines, text wasn't a part of it. Text isn't a supported break line feature in our CAD file. And again, you can also toggle on or put a check mark next to other colors or levels that you want to select. Or just use the match button and go click on something. Now as far as the text, I can have the software read the content of the text, the actual piece of text, or use its origin. So in my case, the origin was correct. It had the correct Z value, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. Now, as far as where to look, where to search for this information, I'm going to have it search inside View 1. But we also could search in any of the other available views within Power Civil, that if they're open. We can search inside what we call a fence, or we could create a selection set. If I use a selection set, well then I need to select the elements myself and not search for them. But in my case, we're going to use View 1. We're going to search for a level called EXServe ground spots, color by level, type 17, which is a text type. So since I'm searching in View 1, I want to make sure that all my information is visible in View 1. So I'm going to use the Fit View to make sure everything's fit, or everything's zoomed out and is seen in View 1. At this point, I click Apply, and it goes out there and grabs all the text on that level and reads its XYZ and populates the existing ground DAT file for me. Next, if I zoom in to the break lines, next I'm going to pick up the break lines. So staying within the same extract graphics dialog, I'm going to change my file open mode to append, which means I just want to add the break line information to the end of the DAT file. Feature this time is breaks. Now when I select breaks, you'll notice I get a stroking button. Stroking is a way for us to add more triangle points to elements. So a line may only have 2 points on it, and if that line is very long, I may want more triangle points along it. In this case, for example, if I had a line that was 100 meters long, it would only have 2 triangle points, one at each end. But by setting a tolerance, or a minimum linear distance stroking option of 25, I'll get triangle points every 25 meters along that 100-meter line. That's a way of adding data without having that data having actual survey for it. And it just does a linear interpolation on the elevation between the 2 known points. The same would hold true for the curves. So in this case, my feature type is, I'm not going to set any stroking, and my feature type is breaks, and my mode is still going to be extraction, because again, these elements have nice Z value on them. The search criteria I'll have to change a bit. I'm going to reset, which clears that out. I'm still going to leave level, color, and type selected. I'm going to click the match button and select one of these break lines. I select it, it highlights them, and I accept it. So notice if I wanted this to be included, I would need to select that as well. So everything exists on EX serve break lines. So again, I want to make sure I pick up everything when I extract it, so I need to fit view. I'm going to extract in view 1 and click apply. At this point it's done with creating the DAT file from these graphics, so I'm going to close the tool. Now the DAT file, you can see here in Windows Explorer the size of the DAT file from that data, and if I right click and open it up in a text editor that I have, you can see it's a very simple file with X, Y, and Z. Next, I will use that data to build triangles.